consideration.
Okay. I want to welcome everybody to our town board meeting. This is our meeting of June 10th, 2015, and I'd like to ask our clerk, Maureen Pihash, to call the roll, please.
Councilman Friedman.
Here.
Councilman Ullman.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Withers.
Present.
Councilwoman Charles. Supervisor St. Lawrence.
Here. I'd like to ask Councilman Friedman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Michael, on the first item of the public hearing, do we need to just have a vote to adjourn that till our next meeting?
We do, which will be June 24th at 8:01.
Moved by Mr. Ullman, second by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries unanimously. Next is acceptance of the minutes for our regular meeting of April 16th.
Friedman.
Moved by Councilman Friedman, seconded by
Withers.
Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. And the acceptance of the minutes for the regular meeting of May 13th.
Withers.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries unanimously. And regular minutes for our meeting on the May 21st.
Withers.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by
Friedman.
Councilman Friedman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Before I go to you, Council, I do want to take the personnel item, 3A, and that is to establish a senior program assistant position. Moved by
Withers.
Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded
Friedman.
by Councilman Friedman. All those in favor say aye. And with that established position, we would now like to appoint our senior program
I
assistant.
oppose the hiring.
Okay, so it's 3-1.
3 to 1, thank you.
And
Well,
to,
just the creation.
to,
Just a creation. I'm just
for the creation of the position. Now that the position is created,
I'll move
we
it.
will appoint a senior program assistant, and that is moved by Mr. Ullman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries unanimously. Chuck Stead, come right up. Congratulations. Now, hold it, Chuck. Would you like to bring your wife up here so everybody at home can see your wife, too?
No, come on. Okay, come on.
And what about,
The whole little entourage, come on.
Come on.
Come on up.
come on, Chris.
Holden, Chris. Monica.
Come on.
I'm actually going to do a little soft shoe with this.
She's bringing a cane, too, Chuck.
She's a dance instructor, you see, so.
I'm waiting for a hip replacement. Thank you all so much.
We want everybody to turn around and give a wave to everybody at home so they can see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You do not have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Again, thank you. Chuck has been working with us as a consultant on environmental issues. We have been able to work for many years on cleaning up the well fields that provide 30 to 40% of the drinking water in Rockland County. And we've just had Ford Motor Company spend $18 million of their own money to clean that up, and the town didn't have to put any money up to take over 40,000 tons of contaminated material out of our well fields. And they're presently now just embarking upon a second phase of the cleanup, which will go up along the Torrent Valley and the Torrent Brook, and that will be about another $18 million that Ford will be spending at no cost to the local taxpayers, and Chuck will be overseeing that as well. Thank you, Chuck. All right. Michael?
Yes, we have two agreements for approval this evening. The first of these is an annual agreement with Hightor Animal Care Center. This is at the same rate as it was for the previous year.
And that's $33,000. Moved by
Withers.
Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
For a number of years, we've had an agreement with the state of New York whereby the town plows in the wintertime state roads. This resolution extends that agreement for one further year through June 30th, 2016.
Withers.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
The next two resolutions address settlement of claims. The first of these is a reimbursement to the town of Ramapo for damage to a vehicle caused by a rock that was left another vehicle striking a town vehicle, and this pays for the full cost of our repair.
Withers?
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
The next settlement involves an infant, a teenager who was hurt at one of our town camps. The injury was a broken finger, and this settlement for $7,500 was recommended by our insurance carrier.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
Periodically, my office seeks authorization from this board to commence recovery actions for payments that were received by residents for ambulance services by insurance companies, which should have been turned over to the town. So this resolution authorizes a number of those collection actions.
Moved by
Withers?
Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilman Ullman. Just before we vote, I just want to explain briefly what this means. When we send out one of our ambulances, our 6 ambulance corps, to pick somebody up who's hurt or injured or has a medical need, we then put in that request to get repayment under the BALS, which is a basic life support, or ALS, which is advanced life support, and then that comes back to the town for our ambulance corps. What happens, though, sometimes is that the check from the insurance company will go right to the person because they have private insurance, and it will go right to that person, and they don't realize that they need to turn that over for the ambulance corps. So we let them know that they need to turn it over, and in most cases they then do, not realizing that. And since we've been working on this program, asking people to turn that over, because it rightly belongs to the ambulance corps and the town, we've collected well over $500,000. So this list here is not a long list, but this is a list of people that haven't quite gotten don't quite understand it, so we will take an action in court to collect those dollars. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
A few months ago, this board adopted a positive declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act for a project known as Pascack Ridge. By adopting a positive declaration, this board is requiring the petitioners to conduct a draft environmental impact statement, which is the most intensive type of study that is authorized under New York law. We held a scoping session on May 13th, 2015, in which time we invited the public to comment as to those topics which the petitioner will need to study in that draft environmental impact statement. The public comments were reviewed by our planning consultant, David Stolman of Frederick P. Clark Associates, and as a consequence, he has drafted a revised scope, taking much of what the applicant or the petitioner requested, but including other items as well. And it is his recommendation that the town board tonight adopt the scope for the draft environmental impact statement.
Withers?
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
Congregation Divrei Chaim has requested that the town board adopt the following resolution, which basically says that should the New York State Legislature pass a law approving a retroactive tax exemption, that the town board would support and grant that exemption pursuant to that state law. This resolution adopts that recommendation.
Moved by Councilman Ullman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is an amendment to the 2015 budget for the Police Department purchase of traffic control equipment. This is a purchase for $3,894 and will come out of our forfeiture funds.
Withers?
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. I believe this one we're going to table on this one. We're waiting for see if there are a couple more bids on that. Approval of a license agreement for the pool concessions. This is moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. This will be at the Spook Rock Pool. and all costs to work on that will be paid for by the applicant. Did we vote on that, Maureen? Did we vote on? Yeah, we did, okay. This is an agreement for the use of the right-of-way at 171, 173 Maple Avenue. Moved by
Withers?
Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Authorization for the Building Department employee to attend the International Code Council Annual Conference in Long Beach, California. This is at no cost to the town. This is being paid for by the association.
Withers? Friedman?
Moved by Councilman Friedman, second by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries unanimously. Our workshops in July will be on the Thursday, July 18th, and in August on Thursday, August 16th, and the other regular meetings will be canceled. Moved by?
It's July 16th, I think. 18th is a Saturday.
July 16th, thank you. Moved by Councilman Friedman, second by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Council, I think that's all I have.
Yep, I think that's the agenda, but for public participation.
Anyone in the public that would like to participate, come right up. Raise your hand. State your name and your address. Mr. Schutte, come right up.
Good evening. Roy Chudy, 16 Lanigan Drive in Suffern, New York. Thank you for the opportunity and the courtesy to be able to address you tonight.
You have 3 minutes during public participation, just so you know.
Okay, first of all, after the pledge is done, is it possible in the future just to do a moment of silence for all of our troops that have been lost in all the wars and currently serving?
And I was glad to see you at the watchfire up at the night where the Vietnam veterans put on the lighting on the watchfires.
We do. That's to guide all the lost souls home. Mm-hmm. So it's a nice thing that we do. Thank you. I have to tell you, I am extremely uncomfortable tonight to address what I have to address, but I feel the need that I have to do so for myself and my neighborhood. And I'll go straight to the point. On January 28th of this year, a special meeting was held here in the AM for public consumption, and it was held regarding the quarry and the siphon plant. In attendance that day, Mr. Alden Wolf, Vincent Altieri, Suffern Village trustees Ed Markounis and Frank Hagan, former Suffern Mayor Jim Genatino, Mr. Brian Brooker, Brooker Engineers, Mike Riconda from the Ramapo Times, and myself. A full and comprehensive report presentation was given by Brian Brooker from Brooker Engineers. Everyone here submitted a testimony in the need for funding for the siphon plant. During that discussion, the supervisor, Mr. St. Lawrence, was full agreement with the knowledge of the pre-Squires Gate and stated that both he and his dad had dissented and thought the building of that development at that time was not a good idea. Throughout that January meeting, the supervisor stated on 5 separate occasions.
That was in 1962, by the way.
It was, okay, so that's when you were still a wee lad. On 5 separate occasions, if the applied grant for $5 million does not become a reality after the next 60 days, the town would bond it and see the project through. We have the transcripts from the tape, but I'm sure you've looked at that already. It is now 2 years since the town submitted to New York State for the grant, and if it has not arrived by now, the train has passed the station. March 11th of this year, I had also addressed the town board once again to secure funds to mitigate flooding in the Squires Gate and surrounding areas. Now, as I stand before all of you tonight, I am respectfully, and I say that deeply, I respectfully requesting the pledge made to fund the siphon plan by the town be approved and become a reality.
Glad you can finish your thought, Roy.
Recently, the town...
She's doing her job.
Recently, the town committed to a $33 million bond exclusive of the $5 million needed for the siphon plan, which leaves me a little concerned and perplexed. You know, eventually every poem, song, book, day and night, every road finds an end. That is with the exception of the quarry and the funding for the siphon plant. This very night, the town of Ramapo has a chance to make history. You have the ability to save, along with change, hundreds of lives and countless families with a vote to honor this pledge for funding of this plan. I respectfully hereby request once more that this matter be brought to a vote tonight and partner with the many other past Ramapo historical accomplishments and achievements. I say this again with humility. I say this with respect, and I hopefully that you will finally put an end to the suffering that so many families have had to endure over these years.
Thank you.
And I thank you for the extended time.
You're welcome for the extended time, and I am going to answer this because I just want anybody who's watching at home to understand something. I did go in 1962 with my father to the Village Hall to say they shouldn't build Squires Gate. It was in the floodplain. I have watched it flood out for many, many years. It is in the village of suffering. It's not our responsibility, but this town took over the quarry after the county said they didn't want it. We had to then pay the county over $250,000 just to reimburse them for their legal fees because they weren't taking it. So we took it over. We made this plan, not the village. We made this plan. It is our plan. We hired Brooker through our agreement with the people that wanted to develop it, so we were able to get it paid for. The town is the only entity that's doing anything. So I don't understand coming in saying the town should start to do something. We are the only ones doing it. And we have in with FEMA a grant that the DEC has backed, and we're waiting for FEMA to give us that money. Now, we also, at the same time, just spent, Pat, how much did we spend down there on the Mahwah River?
Almost 410,000.
We just spent $410,000 in the village of Suffering, along the Mahwah River, right by the bridge where the erosion was. It was not our responsibility, but we did that anyway. So that's what this town board is doing. We were told by FEMA that we cannot start a project and then get the funding. So we will not start a project with the siphons and jeopardize the $5 million that we have support from the governor's office and from the DEC. But it is federal dollars that, as part of this is from the Sandy mitigation. So that's where we are. So we are committed. And if we hear from FEMA that they're not going to do it, then I said we would go forward and do everything we can to do bonding and to do this project.
And there was no new money in bonding.
And the bonding that we just did was just the monies that were rolled over. That was not new bonding. That was monies we used. I think $5 million of that was for the Spook Rock pool and for the Saddle River pool and for drainage and sidewalk and road work across the town. So that's where we are. I understand the frustration from the people that live in Squires Gate, and Lonergan Drive has been taking these hits. Pat, you grew up in Suffering. You know I grew up in Suffering, and Roy, we are going to do something. But so I appreciate your words, and I appreciate the work that Jim and Ed and everybody's doing. But this is our project that we came up with, and we thought it would be a great thing to be able to siphon off billions of gallons of water off the top of the flood into the quarry, and it puts a lot of people in Squires Gate into a 25-year floodplain and some even into many larger year floodplain. But it's not going to take away the devastation that happens there, but we're working toward it, so thank you for that.
I'd just like to continue. Roy, I actually appreciate it. I know how hard you work. But I also know how hard Jim works. Jim was the mayor of the village for a few years. Jim could tell you it's not easy going up to Albany, knocking on those doors, and saying we need money for these projects. We're 5 members of a board. We're trying to work with the village of Suffering, but you're sitting right to the right of you is a man who ran an administration, and it's the monies right now are tight, and people. Unfortunately, they're not the only people that are hearing these projects, these dams, and everything else. They're flooding going around.
And when the mayor was there, Pat, the mayor and I were, when Jim was the mayor, we were in a meeting with all the players in the village hall, and we were coming up with a solution of having it be a combination reservoir with United Water involved and a flood mitigation. And right at the end of that, and Jim, you'll remember this, during that meeting, after we were working on these potential problem solving, the Army Corps, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers raised their hand and say, no, we won't allow that. And by the way, nothing will happen here unless we say it's okay. We have the ultimate stick on this. And that's what they told us at that meeting. So that's when we switched to purely to flood mitigation, and that's what brought us to this point. But we are committed to getting this done, but we can't jeopardize the FEMA funding at this time. That's the only thing. All right? Come right up, Jim.
Jim
I must
Genatino.
say, in the 15 years I've been supervisor, I've worked with 7 different mayors, too, on this. So it's been
It's not an easy task.
maybe 8. Go ahead, Jim.
My question is, when was the last time you had contact with FEMA or with the state on this $80 million that's supposed to be floating around through New York Rising?
This is not rising money, but I'll let
Yeah.
Pat answer. 'Cause
I can answer that. The supervisors asked me to charge up some of the FEMA projects, myself and Tara Wanamaker and Mike Riley. Tara Wanamaker is a Suffolk resident, on a daily basis. Jim, on a daily basis, we are in contact them and begging them for money for any FEMA project. On a daily basis, we ask them about the quarry.
When is the deadline for this money to either be given out or taken back?
They won't answer.
They won't answer that question either.
No, but the DEC, Jim, has backed us very strongly on this project, so.
I mean,
that-
after
that's in
2
our
years,
favor.
you should get some kind of an answer.
Jim, I agree with you.
I'm not saying it's your
No,
fault.
I agree
I'm
with
saying you deserve an answer.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah,
All right,
you,
well,
Jim.
you can't get blood out of a stone.
yeah. Ed, come on up.
Good evening, Ed Malkonis, Suffern Deputy Mayor. I also have a few questions for the board in regards to the flood mitigation and the grant process. I know back in March, I believe that they said we were number 6 in the pile of grants that up in Albany. Is that the status of the grant? Do we have a status?
We've been told that we are right at the top of the pile.
Top of the pile, okay.
It's not the New York Rising money, this is the FEMA Flood Mitigation Fund. So we've contacted Congresswoman Nita Lowey and Schumer's office as well. So we are working hard to try to make that appropriation happen.
Can the village of Suffern help? Can we do something? Can we do something to expedite it in conjunction with the town?
Well, you have the New York Rising, and I have, received different communications from Bruce McClintock, and so, as a matter of fact, I saw him at one of the memorial events, and we were talking about this. But I don't think that Rising money is going to go toward the bricks and mortar of this project.
No,
It's
will
fine.
not.
I
No.
know Suffern received $3 million, I think, was it 3.1 or something?
We didn't receive it yet, but yes, the grant is for
the
$3
New York
million.
Rising
Yes.
flood mitigation. So, I think that the New York Rising process is going on. We certainly, if you want to put in another support letter, Ed, if you want to put a support letter in. As a matter of fact, at that meeting in January, I said that you could be our liaison.
Correct.
As well. So
Yes.
We'll get some more information and maybe a letter from you.
We drafted a letter to you, to the supervisor, in April, from the board, from the mayor and the
I
board.
passed that on to,
Okay.
to Mike Riley, who is our intergovernmental agency person. So if you want to send another letter about the urgency of this, especially
Yes.
with the season coming up, I'll be glad to get that in.
Okay, so we'll submit it to the town,
Yeah.
to the supervisor?
Yeah.
Okay,
Drop it
great.
to me and we'll pass it along.
Okay, will do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Come up.
Just missing 2 minutes.
You're already in an illegal meeting. You have 3 minutes. Don't you? Or-
This is a town meeting. Frank Hagan, trustee, Village of Suffern. And echoing what Roy said, what Ed said, what we all said in January, Patrick, Chris, please, do whatever you can to get us the money before more people start moving out of Suffern, because we are noticing a lot of people moving out from that area. Thank you for your
You're
support.
welcome. Thank you. Mr. Romanowski, come right up. State your address, 181 Maple Avenue.
183. Robert Romanowski, 183 Maple Avenue. Today, a number of individuals and elected officials traveled to Albany to lobby for the passage of the East Ramapo School District Oversight Bill, which has passed the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. Elected officials included Orangetown Supervisor Andy Stewart, Nyack Mayor Jen White, Clarkstown Supervisor Alex Romack, and Councilwoman Shirley Lasker. While the majority of the East Ramapo School District lies in the town of Ramapo, no town of Ramapo elected official attended. I guess that you do not care that the district schools are being sold for far less than their true value, and that the appraiser who was hired to assess the value of the Hillcrest School pled guilty to a misdemeanor for producing a conflicted appraisal that understated the value of the school. I guess that this board does not care that the school district continues to use the law firm of Minerva and D'Agostino, where an attorney from the firm abused a parent using vulgarities. The board promised to hire a new law firm, but so far has not. I guess that this board does not care that when the Colton School was sold, the purchaser was given a $1.5 million rent credit, even when a judge said that they did not have to do so. I guess that this board does not care about all the money that is being wasted on lawsuits with the recent ruling of the appellate division that the district has now lost 2 lawsuits on special education students and how they are placed. For the reasons stated above, explains why a monitor is needed for the East Ramapo School District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romanowski. Anyone else from the public would like to speak? Motion to close the public participation, moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by... Oh, did you want to speak? Come right up.
I rescind my motion.
Hi, good evening. Yitzchak Bernhack, 12 Maple Leaf Road, Monsey, New York. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come up with this issue. Very possible that some of the board members and the supervisor heard about this issue in the past. And about a year ago, I think it's almost a whole year ago, I received a building permit to make an addition on 12 Maple Leaf Road. Unfortunately, when we started the building, they recognized that they went into a pipe. A drainage pipe was not on the additional
This is on 171, 173 Maple Avenue?
12 Maple Leaf Road.
Yeah, but is it a Maple Leaf comes off of Maple?
Maple Leaf Road comes down from Main Street 306? Yes. Yes.
We voted on it already. We took care of it. It's done already.
We voted on it earlier in the meeting. You came in late.
It's done already.
Oh, was done?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Now a motion to close the public participation by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. A motion to adjourn, moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. We're adjourned. Thank you.